You're listening to the Send It Podcast with Andrew Rawls on World Talk Radio.
Roman 7 Judah Bravo, then ground, turn right on Bravo, runway 18 left, Bravo, and it'll merge with Alpha at Alpha 3.
As skydiving here on the East Coast goes into the annual yearly break with winter coming up, the lead times at UPT Vector, uninsured United Parachute Technologies, have crept over the 30-week mark, and I'm looking at this now and showing that they're 32 to 34 weeks, which is a long-ass time. And I placed an order back in July, and even then, you're looking at lead time into March or April of 2022. But you got to ask yourself, why is this place having the longer lead times compared to some of the other vendors out there? And I know there's a lot of discussions on some of these message board forums as to every owner of their gear thinks they have the best rig. But looking back, I should have been with UPT all along. One of the things out there that really bugs me is when I read on social media, somebody says that all the different container systems out there are pretty much equal, or else they wouldn't be out on the market. There's really not an unsafe, some people say, skydiving container system, and therefore it's on the market. It should be safe and airworthy, and I just wholeheartedly disagree with that. I don't get how people can reasonably say that. After I had mentioned earlier the difference in some containers having left versus right-sided RSL hookup systems, some having the Collins lanyard versus some that don't. The fact that you've got container systems with pop-top reserves and no reserve pen cover protection. You've got systems out there with dual-sided RSLs and ones that have two pins that are needed to release in order to get your reserve out. So they're not all created equal, and I hate hearing that. Anybody who's saying that's just giving you all-around bad advice, and skydiving gear and the safety thereof it is certainly something you want to take very seriously and not skimp on. And the people that are saying this need to download the owner's manuals for 3 to 4 different types of container systems and see which ones make sense, and you'll find out real quickly that all of them aren't built the same way. Now, in terms of UPT and the Vector 3, they're the ones, like I had mentioned early on a previous episode, that have the skyhook with the Collins lanyard, the right-sided RSL, and other than Sunpath, that make the Javelin, I believe they're the only other manufacturer that has the TSO. I believe that's 23, I'll double check my notes, but the TSO that goes up to 300 pounds, which if you're a bigger jumper, that means a lot, right? They also have all the patents as well too, and I think a lot of the work that they've done has either been licensed out to other vendors, or you could make a case that some of the things that they've innovated have been ripped off by other companies, but they have all the patents. And I think that with a lot of this angle stuff going on these days, and you've got cams such as Fly for Life, and you see all these excellent free flyers, everybody's wanting a Vector 3. And a lot of the other manufacturers, they're not having this issue in terms of lead time. And, I think if you look at the number of orders that are coming in, UPT's got one of the largest manufacturing facilities in the sport, if not the largest. They're just being bombarded with more orders than perhaps all the other vendors combined. I looked at a recent stat, I believe it was in a BPA, a British Parachute Expo video on YouTube a while back, and I think they had mentioned like 80% of the market for skydiving containers is UPT, or maybe that was just the number of container systems that were equipped with MARDs. They had the skyhook on them, but nevertheless, UPT does control majority of the market share for skydiving harnesses and containers. And of course, a large part of their business is the military contracts and the tandem containers and systems as well. So as much as there's people out there that think that they're backed up because of the sport jumpers, it's actually not. It's mostly military contracts that they're fulfilling orders on, not just the United States military, but then they've got all the tandem business as well too, because with Strong going out of business, I don't know if there's even another manufacturer right now of tandem harnesses and container systems. So the only other thing I think could be backing up down there is all this embroidery that people get on their containers. I'm not sure how many tables they have or machines that can print all that, but the best of my knowledge, UPT, most of that stuff's sewn in. I don't think any of it's dye sublimated. So of course, if that's the case, then you get a piece of artwork that you put on a container, it's going to definitely back up the production line. Of course, we're still in the midst of COVID, and let's not forget there's a material shortage as as well too. So the Cordura and the nylon and those kinds of fabrics that are used to manufacture the containers, harnesses, I still think that there's supply issues. I read a news article tonight, and then it was followed up by something on the news that talked about this problem we're having importing goods overseas. There's all these containers that are stuck on ships, and for whatever reason they can't get them into the country, and Lord only knows, in terms of military supplies and commercial goods, how that's impacting large manufacturing companies like UPT. And of course there's other companies out there as well that manufacture canopies that use similar raw materials, and they're having production issues as well. But the big one is UPT, and I think not only due to the popularity of the containers, but the supply shortage that we're having going on right now, and the fact that we're still in the midst of the COVID pandemic. Even with the vaccination, one or two people that are off the production line can really back up things. That's how I see it. So, because somebody once told me there's a reason why there's longer lead times at certain companies, and I know a lot of the people think that there's other skydiving gear out there that's good. I also like the Javelin container systems as well too, but those lead times there are 16 to 20 weeks as well. But they don't have their production lead times quite as long as UPT. So, I think there's something to be said for waiting and getting what I feel is the best. The containers that have the most research, the ones with the skyhook with the Collins lanyard, and the ones that have the harness that's TSO'd to 300 pounds. The thing too with UPT, I found that is unlike some of the other containers that I've purchased in the past is, they have their standard options, and there's, maybe one or two ways you can take those features and change them. But other than that, there's not a whole lot of customization, at UPT. I mean, sure, yeah, you can change the colors and the looks of the container, but by and large, when you're talking adding things like chest rings or floating laterals or doing something when you're asking for a certain type of riser type, they may or may not be able to do it. And then that's all they really offer. I think the reason they do things at UPT is for a reason. And again, they're the ones that have all the research and testing. So yeah, I think the only thing you can do in this kind of situation is kick back and wait. Maybe you've got some type of other skydiving gear you're able to utilize, during the time that you're waiting for your new gear to arrive. But you don't see a lot of UPT containers either in the used marketplace that folks are looking to get rid of as well too. And if they're good ones and they've been well taken care of, they really hold their value, in my opinion, a lot better than some of the other manufacturers do. Right now, the most popular sizes of the UPT containers, you can't even find them used. So I think it was nice last year, I believe, with COVID. They had really, really short lead times. I think back in February or March, I can double check, but I think at one point the lead times were only 9 to 10 weeks, maybe even shorter than that towards the end of 2019. But yeah, it's as crazy as I've ever seen it there. But you go online and you look at like dropzone.com and those websites, and you'll see there that 30 weeks is not unusual for UPT. And I've always kind of wondered why they just didn't build a bigger manufacturing facility and hire more people, and that way they can get those production slots and production times, I should say, down to where you're only waiting maybe 8 to 10 weeks for a new container. But I'm sure there's a certain way that they're doing things in terms of quality control. There's a reason behind the way that they're currently doing things down there. And like I said, I think a lot of it has to do with material shortage. I know it has to do with material shortage. And a lot of these orders, they can't be fulfilled until, certain raw materials are brought in. So I think when you buy a container from a UPT or a SunPath, you're getting a place that has a definite quality control process in place where they have patents, they stand behind their technology. They're not just paying, 4 or 5 people to go up on a Friday and jump something that's maybe airworthy. I mean, there's decades of research that's put into this equipment before it's brought onto the market. So I think that speaks volumes, and that's why you see UPT right now having the longer lead times in comparison to some of these other companies. So again, I think the only thing you can do right now is just sit back and wait till the containers are built. Realize that there's a lot of other people out there as well that are looking to get their stuff built, and this stuff just takes time. Anyways, hopefully if you're looking to pick up a new container, you've already got your orders in. The prices amongst dealers on these things can be particularly widespread in terms of the markups. So just make sure you know what you're willing to pay, and that you shop around and get the best price. I know I did, and I'm really happy so far how it's all worked out. I'm just having to wait like everybody else before I get back to resuming skydiving. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're flying this weekend, make sure to buckle up and stay safe out there. As always, blue skies and soft landings.
You've just listened to Send It, a skydiving podcast hosted by Andrew Rawls on World Talk Radio. Send It is the #1 skydiving podcast on the planet, bringing listeners up-to-date information on all things sky sports. Be sure to visit senditradio.com to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our amazing bonus content and articles. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review. Until next time, 3, 2, 1. See ya.